Recording in progress.
And putting this is not going to be good because of the green.
Yeah, really, it's dangerous.
Maybe put it just sort of medium.
You might just don't mess it up even.
What's that?
Don't mess it up.
Oh, well, whatever.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. And so to get started, it's just going to have a little theory here for a few minutes. Let people join, and then also it's good to be able to, I call it the meta level, right? We don't just jump in and do when we practice. We're able to kind of step back and size up what we're doing and think about it. So with this, we're working on the transition from Chaturanga to upward facing dog. And this is a challenging one. So a couple of things I want to point out to you. One is that I work with these asana principles, right? And so today's class is on this second asana principle, which is crouch and spring for every transition, right? And this is already something to think about when you're practicing, is to kind of divide up your work and your strategizing, your thought process to the position itself, so being in the asana, and the transition, and both are kind of equal sources of technology and worthy of practice and development. And it's less common to value the transition. It's much more common to just not really think too much about how you got into the pose, but then trying to master the pose itself. But so it's a whole new thought to master the transition, right? And that's this second asana principle, which is that behind every transition there's a crouch, so there's a setup for the action. Then there's a spring, so there's a pure movement that's very confident and intentional and expressive, that takes you to a clear destination. All right, and this is a mentality that you bring to every transition. And so in the transition we're working on today, Chaturanga, this is your crouch, this is your setup position, and then the movement up into upward dog, that's your spring, and then your destination or your asana is upward dog. Okay, and then my third and fourth asana principles apply to this this whole thing too. And so the third asana principle is called foundation first, right? And so this is so where your mind goes when you're building your pose. And it's your legs and arms that are the foundation of every pose. Okay, and your legs and arms work as a team to support you in your pelvis, torso, and head in each pose. And then one set of limbs, either your arms or your legs, is usually the predominant. Like they work as a team, but one's like the team leader. And in upward dog, it's the arms, right? So your arms are right there and your spine is centered between the arms. and so they're kind of bearing the most weight and doing the most job of supporting. But we don't underestimate the legs, which is very common to kind of pitfall of this transition and position is people fail to get the legs to properly support from it's kind of from behind and below. Okay, and then that the fourth asana principle, right? So when you've got the foundation, you set your arms and legs, then that leads to the fourth asana principle, which is awaken the spine. Okay, so the spine actually responds to grounded limbs by waking up and in this case making a nice arch and a buoyant kind of gesture of extension. Okay, and lastly, in the theoretical aspect is this this is all tied together by this, what I call it as a somatic mantra. So this is some, if you want to summarize what happens in every pose, you can do it very nicely with this concise statement, which is limbs stop, spine goes. Okay, and this is pointing out to the fact that your legs and arms have a totally different role in your pose than your spine. Okay, and so when you get clear about that you're stopping your legs and arm in place, and then your spine is what kind of gestures or emerges out into space in some kind of expressive thing, and in this case it's expressing a back bend. Okay, and so that's what we're going to work on, is how do these things add up to skill in the transition to upward facing dog. And so we're going to start off, Joy's going to come in and so we're going to start off with working on the destination itself. So it's a good way to work on the transition is to sort of figure out in advance where am I trying to get to? Like what represents the middle position or the ideal kind of upward facing dog pose, where your limbs are optimally supporting your spine and then your spine is doing its thing. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, you'll want blocks. And
This size?
no, those blue.
Okay. So as large as you have.
Yeah, I mean you can use whatever blocks you have. We're using these bigger ones, but so just when it comes to modifying the pose, kind of the higher you elevate your arms, so if you go on a chair or blocks, then the easier it is to get the feeling of what you want your spine to do. So we're going on some blocks, and the first thing you're going to do is just keep your legs in Chaturanga, and just come right up into your pose. We'll deal with the transition in a minute, but go up into upward dog. Yeah. Okay, so there it is. So you've got your vertical arms, okay, and actually look at your body. So kind of look down and see, and then your legs basically. So this is all basic stuff. You can modify, but the arms are shoulder width apart, so not too narrow, not too wide. The legs are hip width apart, not too narrow, not too wide. And if you look at Joy's legs, they're doing their job of limbs stop. Okay, so they ground and lengthen. Let them go and bend them. Yeah. So So this now the limbs aren't really doing the legs aren't doing their job well. So if she lifts lifts up the thighs, grounds the legs and arms, and then the spine kind of lifts up off of that nice foundation. So you're kind of lifting your head, lifting your spine, and grounding your legs and arms. All right? And so now do it with the pointed toes. So then, of course, the classic is to point the toes. And there you have it. Now, watch Joy. So if she scoots her feet forward, then she's lost the vertical arm position, and she's what I call ahead of the foundation. So her spine isn't situated nicely to be supported by her limbs. So then move back. And then also, if you get too far back, then you're behind the foundation. All right, so you want to find your spine right in the center of that arm, those vertical arm pillars, and project the chest forward like a ship's prow, leading the way as you lift up. Okay, and so that's the centering your spine right in the middle of your foundation. It represents one of the main challenges of this pose, the transition. So we're gonna look into that. But
well, you really want to know where you're going.
Yeah, and okay. So now see, this is here's the thing with this transition. It's actually much more simple than people make it out to be. Okay, so if you put your arms up like you're doing Chaturanga, if you could be kneeling or standing, whatever you want, and so your shoulder position is set nicely. So the scapula are down and forward into your body. Okay, and that shoulder position does not change at all when you go to upward dog. Okay, so really the only thing that needs to happen with your arms is you just extend your elbows. Okay, so whenever you see people shrugging or pulling back like this when they're going into that pose, it's all unnecessary because your shoulders are already set in position when you have a nice Chaturanga. Okay, so there's actually just 3 actions I want you to focus on. Okay, and the hardest one is the legs, so we're going to leave that out for the moment. But the first action and the first part of your body to go into action is lifting your head up in a circle. Okay, so you're actually trying to arch your spine on the way up into your pose, not after you've already got there. So you lift your head in a circle and press your arms straight. And this is really the crux of the whole thing. Okay, so Joy's going to show it to you first without changing the feet. So her ankles are going to stay flexed, and she'll go down to Chaturanga. Okay, and then the head lifts and the arms straighten, and that's all. And notice what she did. Do it again, Joy. See, come down. Yeah, there's no movement. The first thing to move is her head lifting up in a circle. Okay, so people drop their hips or they scoot back or do all kinds of stuff before moving. Not necessary. All you have to do is lift your head and press your arms straight, keeping your chest wide. Okay, so try that out, people, without even involving your legs or pointing your toes in the mix. And to make it a little bit easier, you're going to do this. Sorry, Joy, just 1 second. So you're going to put a in the middle there, and bring your chest down onto that block. All right, so now you've got 3 blocks. Okay, bring it all the way down. Yep. And oh, interesting. Okay, so
It's pretty low.
yeah. So try that, but you might have to go even higher. So your block is going to have to be, actually, it's going to take 2, double. Okay, so you're going to have to, your chest height will be double your block height. And
For your hands.
yeah, and you could be doing this with your hands on the ground too. Okay, but there it is. So now your Chaturanga is supported. Okay, so you're going to do the same exercise. Now just lift your head up, press your arms straight, and there it is. And do not soften your legs. Okay, let them soften. Watch Joy. See no, just medium soft. Just come up. So people let this happen all the time, and you understand, you guys, your legs and arms are the foundation of every pose. And so that whole idea of limbs stop, spine goes, okay? When you let your legs go, it's like the legs have decided they're on the spine's team. So they're like going with the arch. But that lessens the arch. That makes arching less effective. Okay, so your legs have to stop and they root and lengthen. And they actually even go the opposite direction energetically. They go back as your spine goes forward and up. Okay, so do the softening leg. So this is the wrong action that you see so often. Is to let the legs go and the spine and the hips and everything kind of goes forward. Yeah. You added the pointing the toes. Yes.
It's hard once you.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I see. Keep my.
Yeah.
Okay,
We still have not pointed the toes yet, people. Yeah. See, that's exactly what you don't want to do. Your legs, they are like. They're like railroad tracks. They're like, actually everybody, sit in Dandasana and lift one leg and tone, like make it as brilliant as possible, like charge it, extend it, and strengthen it. That's your upward dog leg. Now soften it. Like, no, this is not, that's not it. It's powerful, like a, So it's really adamantly supporting you from behind and below. Okay, all right. So now by putting your hands on blocks and your chest on higher blocks, you've really made it. I call it giving advantage. You've given yourself these advantages that helps you to feel those 2 actions. Okay, so do it again. And remember, the first part of your body to go into action is lifting your head, and then you simply extend your elbows, and that is all. That's the whole crux of the transition. So it's very simple and basic. Head circles up. So when you see people, Joy, look down when you're going up. When you see people look down and shrug and do all those things, it's all not necessary. Okay, it's actually very simple. Just circle the head up to the peak, press your arms straight, and really lift your spine and open your chest with adamant legs. All right? Okay, so then, and then you can try it with less advantages. So just get those out of there, and try it. Try it going, and still haven't added the legs yet. So you're keeping your Chaturanga legs, and see if you can go down to Chaturanga. Then the first part of your body to go into action is your head circling up to the peak while you press your arms straight. That's all. Super simple and basic. Okay? All right, and then if you found that it's much harder without the props, then you use the props until you gain the skill or the strength or what you need to, and it's also nice to alternate. That you don't always have to do the hardest version every time. You can cycle between different, what I call them stations. So you have a low station for your upward dog, which is without, everybody's station could be different. It's a customized, but there's a low, there's a medium, and there's a high. Okay, and so for Joy, her low station is her hands on the ground. But if somebody else's, their low station might be the blocks, and then their medium would go up higher, and then the chair would be another one. But do it, Joy. I'll just show you a sample of these low. So there she goes. That's the kind of the hardest, even though we haven't added the legs. Then her medium station is there. So she adds a little block, and this makes it a little bit easier to do the actions, okay? And then the high would be like using a chair to do your posture. Okay, and this you really can, when you make the circumstances easier, then you can feel those things that you're trying to do. All right, so you're trying to look at her chaturanga. Look at this beautiful crouch, right? So that's your setup. And then there's the spring. All right, so that's what you're practicing. All right, so now lastly, adding the legs to the mix is, so here's what, if you remember this, it will simplify things. But basically, so pretend like this is my foot, okay? So, and here's like this. Okay, so when you're like this in Chaturanga, right? Okay, so when you go to upward dog, you don't want to roll your foot forward. Okay, that's not your action. Okay, so if you do that, if you're like that and then you just let the foot roll forward, the chances are you're going to end up too far forward, and your shoulder will go beyond your wrist. Okay, so your mission is actually to keep your foot in the same place when you go to upward dog. So you push back through the toes so that when you go to upward dog, you do this action. You drag your toes into a point. So they don't actually go anywhere in space. They just stay in their same place. Rather than that, right? They go like that. And then when they don't move anywhere, in the process of pointing, you end up with a nice position with your spine in relation to your vertical arms. So the very first thing I want you to do is lay down on your mat with your belly, like you're in Chaturanga, but your belly is on the ground. And then just practice that toe pointing. Watch Joy. So she's just dragging her toes back across the mat. Okay, and so you get very skilled at that. It's a very simple thing, but it gets tricky when you're in Chaturanga. Okay, so what you'll do now is make same thing, except for you're going to come up into upward dog as you do that, starting from your belly on the ground. So Chaturanga with your belly on the ground, lift your head. Okay, now here you go. Come up into your pose and drag your toes into a point. All right, practice that a few times. Starting with the belly on the ground makes it a little bit easier. And just get the feeling for keeping your feet in place when you execute this transition. Okay, now try it. There it goes. Now the whole thing. So you've got, and this brings us to it. There's 3 actions that you're working for in the transition from Chaturanga to up dog. And that is lifting your head in a circle, pressing your arms straight, and dragging your toes into a point without rolling your feet forward. Okay, so here we go. Watch Joy. Head, yeah, and you time it all. So it's all, let's slow that down a little bit. And look at the timing of it. Yeah, even slow it down more. But so I would, yeah. and everybody's different. There's a little bit of timing but it's basically happening as simultaneously as possible, or as kind of rapid fire sequentially as possible, right? So it could either happen all at the same time, or if it's going to happen sequentially, it's head first, then the feet, head, feet, arms, or something like that. It's definitely head first. If it's, and you can experiment. It could be simultaneous, that all those actions are initiated simultaneously, or it could be kind of rapid fire sequentially. Okay, and one note I will tell you is the higher you go, the less possible it becomes to drag your toes into a point. Okay, so if you're using a chair, say, then you're going to have to either keep your feet flexed, your ankles flexed, or place your feet one at a time when you go into it. It's very hard to do that move the more you elevate your arms. Okay, and so
That's really hard.
so you just place your feet, and of course you can place your feet even if you go from a lower place like blocks or the ground, but you understand that you're always trying to extract all the strength and benefits you can out of a transition. And so when you drag your toes into a point as you lift your head and press your arms straight, then you're using your core strength. It's a more full participation of your body when you do that. I think that's it, unless there's questions.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, it's exactly half hour. Okay, guys. Well, so that's there it is, the upward dog, the beautiful transition, Chaturanga to upward dog. So remember, let's just review it. Okay, so every transition, so crouch and spring. So in this case, Chaturanga, that's your setup. That's where so Joy, come back here.
Yeah.
See, that's where you build up energy, right? It's this moment before the action that you really pay attention to. Okay, and then so when you go to your Chaturanga, you're building energy there, and then it's a purposeful spring into action that's very targeted, right? It's just a circling up and a pressing the arms straight. Okay, and then remember these two asana principles, so that was number 2, the crouch and spring. Number 3 is the foundation first. All right, so that is where you set your limbs, right? It's your long, strong arms and legs that support every posture. Okay, and that when you get those long, strong limbs and your spine is situated nicely to gain that support, then it awakens. And this is a beautiful transition to feel that spine awakening. Okay, and lastly, it's all related to that beautiful mantra. Limbs stop, spine goes. Okay? So there's a couple of questions here, Joy, or comments or something.
You guys, David's...
Can you look at that?
Yeah, okay. David's online Mysore Foundations course starts on Wednesday. So if you like this type of information, you're going to love that course.
Yeah.
Okay. Students who can't do Chaturanga, can you show from plank to up dog? Sure.
Yeah. And the tricky part about going from plank is so there you can do a beautiful one without even changing your legs, but it's really and then go ahead and do so you place your feet instead of rolling over them, and then you just have to make sure that you see that there's one disadvantage to it going from plank, okay, and that is that your spine, your hips, your legs, they come down a little bit, okay, so that, and they have to get your arch, but at the same time you want that lift of your spine. So there's a certain amount that you dip down, but then you lift up as you stabilize your legs and arms. All right, so you go from plank, and then, and the hips have to come down, but you're still lifting your head and chest and spine up. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, leading with the head is key.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you for joining us. And
Yeah. Come to Bali.
Come to Bali. Join the Mysore Foundations. Yeah, love to work with you.
Bye.